Hi, I'm Mike Dixon, and you're listening to Two Guys Talking Rush.
Hi, this is Mark Cunningham. I'm the organizer for Prog for Peart, and you're listening to Two Guys Talking Rush.
Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys.
And now, get ready for the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast with your hosts, John Kane and Dan Buxton. All right, can we all see?
Yes.
All right, good. There you are, Mike. And so you're telling us this is just a blank frame, right? They placed this in later.
Well, the picture?
Yeah, the picture you move.
No. That picture was all done.
Oh,
just the way you see it.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and it was really heavy. That frame was really something.
Wow. I wonder where this picture is.
I don't know where that one ended up.
Yeah.
But I must tell you, because of this COVID thing, being a rock star here in Niagara, it's been a really tough go. So I may have to end up putting the coveralls on eBay, but I don't want to.
Oh, you still have your coveralls?
You know, it's funny. People say, well, how much did you get paid for that? Well, it wasn't really, we didn't get paid. I was helping my friend Huey.
Right.
Yeah. And at the end of it, Bob and I were getting in the car and leaving, and I said, hey, here's your coveralls back, man. I said, oh, man, keep them. What did I know what they were going to turn out to be?
Is there any branding on these coveralls, or are they just orange? Do they say Rush on them or anything? Or
no. Well, actually, the reason you know that they're the original coveralls is because they were made in China, and they're actually red, a real bright Pantone red.
Okay.
And we knew it was kind of funny because we laughed. They were a very high quality coverall, but back then they didn't have stuff made in China yet.
Oh, wow.
So this was like the precursor of what was
poorly made.
But these are excellently made coveralls. I mean, they held up to today. They're well made for sure. Now Bob got his, but he's not sure where he left them. And as for the rest of the guys, I don't know.
So this is your buddy Mario right here?
Mario's the guy with the toque on, one picture ahead.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
And my good friend Bob King, who sort of got me into this on behalf of Hugh, is the other side of the picture with me.
I notice, and for all of our fans that join us on this podcast, if you want to watch what we're looking at, I mean, I'm sure they could pull up their album, Moving Pictures album, but we are going to put this on our YouTube channel so that you can watch along. But I noticed that some of the movers have gloves on and others don't.
Hugh, he had extra stuff that he wanted to make it look a little more authentic, like the toque. He put that on Mario.
This is Mario.
It's a shame because Mario had beautiful black hair and he's wearing a toque, and my hair is kind of freeform.
Yeah.
But the gloves were just an extra thing. And one little note I'm going to point out too, if you look to the right, where you see those people who are moving, they're crying, because the street's the pun. Moving pictures, we're moving them, they're crying, and then it's a movie on the back. Yep. There's a plastic bag full of groceries on the ground that they dropped.
Yes.
Originally, that was supposed to be a paper bag. Could we find a paper bag anywhere?
Say that again, Mike. Explain that again. I'm sorry.
Well, initially, that in terms of being creative, it was going to be a brown paper bag versus a white plastic.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But anyways, that became the iconic thing. And what did we know that all of a sudden the future was going to be plastic
Plastic bags, right?
Plastic
That's right.
bag.
Wow, you know what? I'm just noticing that now. How that wouldn't have been historically accurate to have, your carry your vegetables
Right,
around in
yeah.
yeah. So let me ask you, Mike, when you look at this story, because there is, and that's the wonderful thing about Hugh Syme is if you look at his work, there's a narrative, there's a storyline, there's something to be told in each one of his images in his work. What's the story that's being told based on your interpretation? I guess there's no right or wrong answer, but you've had years of yourself on this album and enough time for it to marinate. What do you think is happening in this, and what this work is telling?
Well, what I was able to sort of conclude from the trickle down from Hugh was, like we already talked about, the three-way pun. Then the irony of the fact that there's three guys in rush and there's three columns in the background, so there's three arches.
Yes.
But each one of the pictures alludes to a line or something that's in one of the songs. So if you tear it all apart, you'll find the line somewhere that might refer to Joan of Arc. All of a sudden, we got dogs playing cards. And then, of course, we wanted to get Bob on again. So the fellow carrying the 2112 picture of Bob is a guy named Kelly J. And he used to be the lead singer for a band called Crowbar in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And that's, how we all, but really Mario, Bob, and myself and Hugh, those were all the people I actually knew when we got to the gig. Mm-hmm. But there was a whole bunch of people that had something to do with movies, and there was somebody's relatives and blah, blah, blah. But we didn't really, interact too much with the other people. But it was like a morning and an afternoon to get these shots done.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'd love to see the film roll of all the different shots that he got and why he chose this one. I'm curious. Are you guys?
I would love to see it too, because I want to know how I ended up on the front cover and not on the back cover.
Yeah,
but I was on the back somewhere too, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, the question for me is: are you moving pictures in? Or are you moving pictures out?
Truth, we're moving them in, and that door was locked. So as we got up, as soon as we got to the door, we couldn't go any further. So that's where the film stopped. So I'd love to see some of the outtakes from that, because we literally collided into the door before he said cut.
Amazing. Now, are these actors? These are actors here, hired guns that were there?
I'd say they were all friends of a friend of a friend, or but I know thought about this. He said, okay, I need someone who looks like this. I need this. I need that. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I had this iconic mustache of sorts. So I think he thought, he looked like a mover. He said, don't shave for a couple of days. So I said, okay, I'm in. I said, what to do? I'm a musician. This is how I live.
It's a cool look. It looks like you kind of got the handlebar thing going down, connected to the.
Well, it's been a lot of different shapes and sizes, brothers.
I like it. Now, the narrative for these let's call them actors that are here. The drop fruit or the dropped produce there indicates, based on this woman's emotion, that she was startled by her sadness.
The sadness of these pictures being moved.
Yes.
And how each one of the pictures had a different reason to move them, and the emotions were just too much for them.
Very clever.
And I have another little quick story too. If you look at the little girls on the right, now they were somebody's kids. Yep. And like I said, most of us all did this as a favor to our good friend Hugh. And we had a wonderful time. But these kids were promised to go to McDonald's. And so they had already been spending the morning getting this movie done, and all they were saying. And at this point, if I'm not mistaken, because I was there, they were starting to go, I want to go to McDonald's. When are we going to McDonald's? And I'm sure they caught that picture at that moment.
That's hilarious.
Kids know how to collect. That's one thing that I like.
And this once again is just folklore stories that happened around the event.
I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. When you look at this, Mike, how does it? I just because I actually know I know Dan, you probably know them too. I know the couple that are on the cover of the Woodstock album.
Oh, really?
Embracing,
Cool.
yeah, the Urkelines are very nice.
I know the guys who did sound at the first Woodstock.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that. The Hanleys, Bill Hanley.
Okay.
Is that who you're talking about? The first Woodstock, Bill Hanley, who did the sound?
Well, it's just 3 guys I met in New York City, right below the Trade Center. They were doing a concert, and a friend of mine worked for Sam Ash Music, and their mixer blew up. And by a turn of events, I happened to be in Manhattan for a weekend vacation to pick up a trumpet for my trumpet player. We hooked up with an old friend, and he said, "Oh, come here, jump in the truck." And we drove down, and he said, "Oh, here's a couple guys. They were the guys who did sound at Woodstock." I go,
"Oh, interesting. Oh, cool." It all leads back to Woodstock, Dan.
Always.
Yeah.
So you're part. I guess my point is that just like the Urkelines are part of a legendary thing, right? This band that has moved so many, and with the Urkelines being part of an album based on a movement of a societal movement, a cultural movement, they're now embedded in this sort of pop culture realm. You're in it now. You're on an album, and like I said, you are the art. You are now art. How do you feel when you look at this, man?
Well, I'm still a little taken aback sometimes. Still, and like I said, the amount of wonderful people I got to meet by other Rush fans and being invited to certain events. Yeah, I'm just amazed that because of that, I got to meet so many great people. But for me, because of this, I thought I was going to be a picture on an album cover. Then I end up on a T-shirt, which I bought at a show for $50, but hey, I was on it. So that was the show that I went to, the second one I saw them. So anyways, to be on a T-shirt, to be on an album cover, to be on a poster. I was in Germany touring, and I went into a music store, and there's a picture of the moving pictures thing with Neil, and I'm going, this is just too crazy for me. And then all of a sudden, I'm an action figure. I'm a cartoon character. And what somebody told me the other day is, Mike, since the Moving Pictures album, and Exit Stage Left and all of that, which was part 2 of this shot, I've been on stage with Rush for the last, 30, 40 years. I don't know. It is a bit of a strange thing to deal with. And the moment I saw myself in the Time Machine show, it was shocking.
Yeah, that was great. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing here. And curious, did Rush ever show up at Hugh Syme's event here? Did he ever? Pop down, or?
I never saw the guys at anything that I was at. Now, I know that they shot the picture of the other half of on Exit Stage Left, that they were doing a show in Buffalo, and that's where that live shot came from. Now, Hugh said that the boys wanted to talk to him before the show, did I want to go? And at the time I said, man, I'd love to, but I got a gig. So, but as far as them showing up on a gig or going to their place for dinner on Christmas, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. I was just curious if maybe you've met the guys or if they came down to the shoot. So the album comes out, right? You find out you're on this album. Do you buy the album and listen to it?
I got the cover because I said to Hugh, hey, have you got a cover of this? He said, yeah, I got one right here. There was no album in it. It was just a cover because he wanted to pick it up at the artwork department. Now, eventually, I did. Someone gave it to me, I think, but I got the CD, I think, because I had a friend who worked at the radio station, so he gave that to me as well.
What'd you think of the album? What'd you think?
Well, I thought it was a great album because there's 2 times I can think of that I really sat up and listened completely to an album that was blown away. One was Who's Next. The other one was Moving Pictures.
Yeah, great, amazing.
Just to play the whole thing front to back, it was like, wow, that was an experience.
Yeah,
it just grabs you. It just naturally grabs you as an album, and so you don't have to think about it. You don't have to put any effort into it. You're just there for the next 40 minutes.
Sure, and I can see why a lot of real true Rush fans, they would have the album cover in front of them, the music's playing, and they're just getting right into the album. And the only other album cover I could think of that stands out is maybe Sgt. Pepper's. And why? I mean, Hugh did win a Juno for this album cover, but why would I have? I mean, can you think of somebody else on that album cover you might know? I can't.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff, man.
Well, it's like, that's why I'm saying the Rush culture, and I mean this in the nicest way, is probably the most intelligent fan base I've ever met.
Well, thank you.
They get it.
I mean,
the world, they get it.
Yeah, totally. Well, you know, I teach design, and I've actually taught a few classes on the history of album art. And you know, one question I ask students often is, you know, does listen to the album. You know, if they're going to design an album, listen to the music, obviously, get into the history, do some research, and then produce something based on your emotional response. And what's interesting, I need to ask Hugh this question is, you know, how much had he listened to Moving Pictures before he produced this? To, you know, did he get an idea from the album? How did he get the idea? But also, you know, and my question to you is, does the album match the music? Because some album covers just don't work. It's like, what is this? You know, and there are album covers out there that just make no sense. I could think of a few. But this album cover, does it match the emotional quality of the album, do you think?
I really believe it does, and I'm just going to give Hugh a little bit more credit, because if you look at any of his album covers, even the ones he's done for other groups, but more so for Rush than anyone else, I would say, is his creativity came directly from whatever muse he was listening to when Rush did that particular album. So to me, the album cover designs, the graphics, the video show that went along with it was all so much about complementing and being interwoven with the music itself. And I think Hughes had a magical quality to be able to do that.
Yeah. So the album comes out, it's a massive success. You're all over the place. We could find you at every record store and every mall across America and beyond, and Canada and beyond in the 1980s, and moving forward. Pretty amazing stuff. Did you like Rush in the 80s? Did you like their direction with regard to the style of music? Because a lot of folks didn't like the stuff post Grace Under Pressure. What did you think about that era of Rush?
Well, for me, I've always really appreciated Rush, and I always really enjoyed the intricacies of their music. I'm not going to say that while Rush, I was crazy about the music, because I had such a pool of music that I listened to. But when you listened to Rush, you knew it was Rush. And whether you liked them or didn't like them much at all, if you didn't appreciate what you were doing, what they were doing, then you really don't really get into music at all, because right. I mean, there's just something about what they delivered that is so unique to Rush. But just the way they ran their business was so unique to Rush. The family, their crew, like I know a lot of their crew, like Larry Allen, who was Neil's first drum roadie, who was with him for years before he moved on. I think he met a girl in Texas and stayed there. But even that, I mean, I've been so closely tied with that, because he was my first drum roadie, which really means he was my buddy who came to the gig with me.
You still talk to him?
I see him occasionally, and he came back to St. Catharines for a while, and then I think he went to Brantford or something to look after his mother.
Oh,
But I only cross paths with him occasionally. So I might see a guy, I'm not seeing him again for 10 years. But being a musician, you pick up right where you left off.
Obviously, yeah. So
but I mean, he worked so hard for Rush too. But he was part of the family, and George, who was their carpenter at the time.
Yeah, legendary. Yeah, all those early guys, working and help set Rush up on their trajectory to success. Most definitely. Is it fair to say that Moving Pictures is your favorite Rush album, Mike?
I would say yes, it definitely is my favorite Rush album. But then again, I have to give a little plug to Exit Stage Left, their live album, which we also got to be on again.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a live fan. I love live music.
Yep.
My favorite Rush albums are all the live things.
Yes.
And then when they started putting out their videos of the live shows, huge fan.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm an enormous booster of Exit Stage Left. That's like absolutely one of my favorite albums. It's so good. And,
it is.
I've said before that I think there are some versions of the songs on it that I think they captured better than they did in the studio.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
It's just great. It's just great. Yeah.
Because,
I can't say enough about it.
Because when you go and watch them play live, it's amazing. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you can't translate that live reality onto a record. They were so good in the studio as a studio band. They were so great as a live band. And they always stayed ahead of the technology so that it was in their home row by the time they were using it. And I'm going to tell you who really blew me away when I saw them that second time when I went to see Time Machine was Geddy Lee. He was so good. He moved the whole time, and he just had control of this show, and I really enjoyed it. Now, of course, if you don't love Neil Peart, you don't know anything about drumming. But I mean, Neil was so amazing, and I don't even claim to even play at all like him or even try to approach what he does. But if I'm going to tell all those rock drummers out there, if you listen to Neil in between all those drum rolls, he's the most solid rock drummer, 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll ever hear. So when you're all practicing, kids, all your rock and roll drumming, spend half an hour just playing 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you play that perfectly, play all the rolls you want.
Right.
Typically, we ask guests on this show what their top 5 albums are, and I'm not going to do that with you. We've already determined that your number 1 Rush album is Moving Pictures, and rightly so. Could you give us your top 5 songs on that album that you like? Could you rate those songs?
I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Every time I play a Rush album, I put it on and I play the whole thing. And to me, it's one song.
Good answer.
So I don't really, and when we're getting forced to get into, we got to do singles and we have to. And they always sort of push back against that and say, I don't think I want to.
Do you have any favorites off that album?
Red Porchetta.
Very good.
Song.
Yeah. And a friend of mine has a farm right by that little road that he used to drive that car across.
Hey.
Amazing stuff.
You guys will have to come up to Niagara sometime and I'll show you around Lakeside Park.
I would love that. We'll make it a point. We there's a memorial going on up there. We've had Chris O'Connell on, who heads the Port-Dalhousie trading company, and he's been helping put a memorial or some sort of statue or some sort of
Chris O'Connor?
Chris O'Connor.
Okay.
Yeah. He's
okay.
You remember Chris? He was on the show a couple of times.
Yeah, I know Chris.
Yeah, good guy. So yeah, we'd love to when that finally comes to realization, we'd love to go up there and do a podcast from there and maybe interview some folks up there. That'd be a lot of fun. But the mighty Mike Dixon, man, what can we say? It's such an honor to have you on the show, and I know Rush fans are gonna love this in-depth look at the album artwork, that the living and breathing album artwork that's on our show. I couldn't imagine the album not having you on the cover, man.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it was quite an honor. But, when I reflect back and see that, I've been on tour with Rush as a cartoon character this whole time. And, like I said, there's time that go by, I don't notice. And then all of a sudden, someone will come out of nowhere and say, hey, you're the guy on that Rush album cover, aren't you? I said, well, actually, I am. And then I made a new best friend. Just like you guys, my two new best friends.
Oh, definitely, man. And
Happy to know you.
Definitely. Happy to know you. And you're welcome on our show anytime. I want to send you one of my Rush albums, have you sign it, actually. I'd love for you to sign my album, man. And well, thank you, Mike, for coming on to Two Guys Talking Rush. We really appreciate it.
Perfect. And I'd just like to say, I'd be happy to come back another time and we can talk about Exit Stage Left or Neil Peart before he was famous.
Mike, you're welcome on our show anytime, dude. Anytime.
Great guys.
Do you think
it's a pleasure to meet you? And I want to say hi to my friend Joao from Brazil.
Anybody else?
Well, a hiker from Germany. James is in Scotland. And of course, all the guys that I love and work with here in Niagara. So God bless the Niagara musicians, and hopefully this COVID thing will end soon and we can all get back to work.
Mark.
Yes, that's definitely me.
How are you, buddy?
Hello. Well, pretty good, I guess.
Okay. You promised us that you would have had a few drinks by now.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah.
So are you good? Have you
I'm good.
All right,
I'm good.
Good. Okay. So yeah, tell us.
How good are you, man?
Like, how
really
good are you? How good?
On a standard operating procedure of what? Like,
can you drive a car? Can you drive a car right now?
Oh, good God, no.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. Well, there you go. How about a forklift?
Yeah, can you operate a forklift right now?
No. I don't want to impale anybody. Good God.
Could you ride a bike?
Not a motorcycle.
Roller skate.
One of my favorite activities is riding a motorcycle, and I'm telling you, no way.
All right, good. Well, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate the opportunity for you to explain to Rush fans across the planet what Prog for Peart is and who you are and why we should know about it. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Mark Cunningham. I somehow ended up organizing Prog for Peart. I guess I'm nobody but a Rush fan. It just so happened that I also had this little bit of ability, which is that I put on gigs at a small venue here in the UK. And well, I just decided I was going to bloody do it. Neil died. And I was at the bar in the venue. I like bars, by the way. And you know how these modern phones work. It went bzzz because a news thing came through, and it was something from a Canadian news site. God knows how clever these bloody things are, because it knew that I liked Rush, and it gave me, I've never been to that Canadian site before. Anyway, it said Neil had gone. And I was like, no way. It was January, last year. And I just went kind of like, had to search other places and found out it was true. And it genuinely knocked me a bit.
Well, stop right there. Why? How long have you been a Rush fan, and when did you get into Rush?
A guy called Alex McCutcheon, who I only have remembered the name because I talked to. I know Alex. Yeah. I know him. Hey, do you know what? You might he's a huge Rush fan. At least he was back then, but I haven't spoken to him it'd be about 3-4 months after he introduced me to Rush, I'd imagine. He came round to my house with 2112, and he said, "You've got to hear this." And we put it on the record player. Kids don't even know what records are these days, I'm telling you. Anyway, put it on the record player, which was like there in the living room, because that's what you did with record players back in those days. There it was, put it on, and you know what the first side is, right? And I just kind of like jaw dropped and just went, wow. I went, this is the kind of stuff I like.
What year? What year was this?
This is 78.
Oh, okay. So
78.
So like right then, basically.
It was. I mean, what was? Well, I'll tell you the next bit, and then you'll know exactly when it is, because he played me that, and I went, "Oh my God, this is exactly what I'm into." And about 2 years earlier, somebody played me Dark Side of the Moon, and that changed my life forever. Until then, it was like kind of like all I knew was kind of the Beatles and I don't know, surf music and whatever was in the charts. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And my life changed when I heard Dark Side of the Moon. And I kind of went, right, okay. And then I heard Black Sabbath's first album, some Zeppelin stuff, Skinner, all the good stuff that we all love, right?
Yeah.
But this was kind of something a bit different. This was kind of out there with the Floyd and people like that. It was like kind of wow, but it was still kind of aggressive and kind of like all that lovely kind of that heavy rock stuff. I mean, come on, you hear it like dan 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 dan. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's there, isn't it? And I was just like, how old would I be? I mean, I was born in '62, so that's like kind of how, and it was early in the year. So I mean, I'm 15. I'm 15.
That's the exact age when you get corrupted by Rush. That's exactly the time.
Rock and roll, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, yeah. So it was, yeah. That's what it just did, and it was one of the most exciting moments. It really was. And
did you see Rush on tour every time they came through, or what?
No. I never got to see Rush.
Oh, sorry, man.
Not even once.
Not even once.
Not even once. The closest I got to see Rush was when we moved to this happened. Alex McCutcheon came round to my house. I lived in a little town in the west coast of Scotland, and you had to get on a train and stuff to go up to Glasgow, and that would be the closest that Rush came. Would have been Glasgow. And then my mom died, and my dad decided the best thing to do was like move us all from there to somewhere, and we start again and all the rest of it. So we went to Newcastle upon Tyne, which is a great city, and I love it. And all hail to all the Geordies out there. And we went there, and I remember being driven in a car, and I can't remember who was driving the car. I guess possibly a friend. And the venue in the town, and you might have heard of it, it used to have a reputation back in the day, was Newcastle City Hall. And it was kind of always on the Rush tours and stuff. And there was a big queue going right the way around the building. And I went, oh, who's on tonight? And it was Rush. That was Hemispheres.
Wow.
That was Hemispheres. And I went like, oh, I'd really like to go. And my mate in the car went like, you're joking, that sold out months ago, man.
Oh, wow.
It's like, and sure enough, the flipping queue was going to, but that was the closest. And then I had a long period of kind of poverty and stuff like that. And the prices got higher, and my kind of, we're talking about Thatcher's Britain here, man. I had a long time without a job and all kinds of sort of things.
Yeah.
I don't have to live with now.
Yeah. No, I mean,
problems. But it was mainly money was the reason, man. It was no other reason. No other reason.
Doesn't really measure, what a Rush fan is, or how in depth and important the band is to them. But,
but I still I still kind of have to say it very, very quietly. Usually, no, not.
Well, we forgive you.
Don't tell anybody, right? Oh, this is not going out to anybody anyway, is it?
I've grown to like the Grateful Dead, and I had many chances to see them, and I sort of regret not seeing them, just for the pure fact of seeing Jerry Garcia and all that, so. I
respect what the Dead stood for.
Yeah.
And I watched a documentary. It was one of those kind of Sky TV things. And literally it was like last night, because I'd sit and I'd queued them up. And I went and I do you know what, I'll quickly just, and I like everything they stand for. But even like listening to the music still today, it doesn't stand out for me.
Yeah.
The music itself doesn't stand out for me.
Right.
Not like Rush or Zeppelin or something. It just doesn't. I mean, even the what was the great big kind of comeback thing that they had at the back end of the
Touch of Grey.
Touch of Grey.
Yeah, with the skeletons and stuff. It was like kind of, all right, so it's an okay song,
Sure.
but it didn't really stand out for me, and yet it was a massive hit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm a weirdo. I just like what I like, you know.
I think the same could be said. There's a lot of comparisons we make to the Grateful Dead and Rush because of their fandom and the dedication to the band.
That is true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and also, I guess the Dead did have some radio. They probably had several singles that they more than Rush, I would suspect. Dan.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we it's funny. This podcast is growing in the UK. You're in the UK right now, right, Mark?
I am. I'm in what I like to call the deepest, darkest depths of Toryshire.
Wow.
What is?
I'm
Can
getting
you
political
explain?
on you there.
Yeah, so we're Americans who don't understand.
Okay,
I'm in New
I'm
Hampshire.
originally from Scotland. I'm originally from Scotland. I was born in Edinburgh, the place I told you about where my friend introduced me to Rush, introduced me to 2112, was Ayrshire on the west coast near Kilmarnock, Troon, and which is famous for golfing area.
Okay.
Where I am now is about 450 miles south of that. I'm about 5 miles south of Oxford,
Okay.
the famous university city.
You must remember, for a lot of Americans, they know two things about Scotland: Glasgow and the Loch Ness Monster. That's it. Not much beyond that.
And Braveheart, dude.
And Braveheart,
Oh,
yes.
God,
Exactly.
yeah. Freedom.
Yeah.
Well, we might be getting that soon. You never know.
Well, I'm in New Hampshire.
Oh, well, I know where New Hampshire is. Yeah. You're up around the corner from New York.
Exactly. Dan's in New York.
I'm in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, oh shit, yeah, I have actually been there.
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
okay. All right.
Do you know we've had Scott Brown on the show? He's done
Scott Brown, the Hibernian player. Well,
Yeah.
I say he's like more famous for being a Celtic player, but like he was our captain first. That's my team, by the way.
Yeah, he runs Rushfest Scotland.
Fantastic. Yeah.
You know him, right? You know him?
I do.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good guy. So tell us more about the dates when Prog for Peart is happening and what fans should know about this event, and is it going to be live streamed? I mean, advertise this event. Use this podcast to get the word out for your event, man.
Will there be nudity? Whatever.
I desperately hope not.
Okay, good.
Well, but I desperately hope that I don't end up nude anyway. That's for certain. I think more people are likely to switch off at that point. That's pretty much guaranteed. But what is guaranteed is 16 bands and great music across 2 days. It will be streamed.
Mm-hmm.
It is going live from midday on the 2nd of July. And it'll run from midday through until midnight with live music. The bar will still be going on later than after that, but unfortunately, I don't think people further afield will be able to partake of that. But certainly, I mean, I could arrange for cameras of us carrying on drinking in the bar if anybody was interested. We could do that. But then it starts again the following day on the Saturday, on the 3rd of July, again at midday, and running again through till midnight. We have got a memorabilia auction on the Saturday. We've got a gap between 6 and 7 o'clock. Where if there's any bands out there that want to send something, I'm sure that you guys could provide my email address and stuff like that. If they need it. But like, we're looking for stuff to try and auction off to people. We will take internet bids as well as from those in the room. So there's a good chance to raise some money. And what it's actually about is the fight against the disease that killed Neil.
Right.
That's kind of what this is all about. All right. Going back to the question that you asked me right at the very beginning, there I was at the bar, had the message, and a period of time went past, and it thought, this is the thing that I can do. This is the thing that I can do. I've got the skill set. You know, I love Rush, and I can put on bands, and I can. So it kind of started from there. I started off with two or three bands, but now we've got 2 days and 16 different bands, and they're all doing it for nothing. They're all doing it because they respected Neil as well. I mean, I'm giving them some food and stuff, but that's about all the guys are getting. They're giving everything else for free, for the love and respect of the professor. It's as simple as that.
That's fantastic, but I'm not surprised, because that's on brand for Rush fans, and that it's for me and John both. Not long after Neil died, John called me and he's like, he wanted to do this podcast because we wanted to do something about the fact that Neil was gone. We were both so devastated by it. And so affected by it was a knife in the gut, and when John approached me about it, it was very much like, we can't just sit here about this, that we must do something about this.
That was the feeling that came over me as well. I mean, and God knows I was standing there with a pint in my hand. I could have thought about doing something quite interesting, like carrying on drinking it, but it knocked me for 6.
Yeah,
it really is. It's one of those moments, isn't it? It was like, like there's things that happen through your life, and it's like the marriage and the first child, and all these wonderful things that happen to you. And unfortunately, some of the things are painful as well. Yeah. And this is one of the ones that is it's a marker in my life, a painful one, but a positive one. Because this is how I am going to be positive out the other side of it. That I'm going to achieve something, and Neil's death will achieve something as well if this, goes according to plan. And I don't mean my event; I mean the research program that the money is going towards.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because coming back around to what it's all about, there is a research program at Nottingham Trent University here in the UK. These guys have been studying Glioblastoma Multiforme for quite a while. And they've had some positive results with some experimentation. And as you guys know, and I'm guessing all the Rush fans by now will know, being diagnosed with this it's good night Vienna.
Yeah.
So the people who've got it have all stuck their hands up and gone, we'll be subjects, because any hope is better than no hope. Yeah.
Right. So
they're ready to go, give or take, on a human trial with something that's based upon the same. Now, I'm my expertise is music, drinking, and a bit of marketing. Right. I don't know about this stuff. This is the university guys kind of thing.
Right.
But what they seem to be saying is the mRNA technology that they used for the Pfizer vaccine for the COVID thing that and that's why we kind of know about that mRNA business. Okay, it's just the publicity that came around that. They're going to use the same technology to get the human immune system to jump up and say, I recognize that as cancer. I recognize that as something I should go and beat the crap out of. And that's what I'm going to go and do. Oh, that's it in a kind of, layman's terms as I understand it. Right. And that's what the money that we're raising with Prog for Peart is going to go and do.
Cool.
And if it helps in some small way, it's like I said to somebody else, I ended up in print, but it's a good quote, is if Neil's death ends up through this weird snake-like process, helping other people with the same problem, it's kind of done some good. And I guess he, of all people, would appreciate it more than others.
Most definitely. Where can people find out more about Prog for Peart?
Okay. Simplest thing is just Google Prog for Peart. You'll either find articles in Prog magazine, or it will come up with our webpage. We're just a little venue in Oxfordshire, and there is a Prog for Peart page on the website for the venue. The venue is northcourtmusic.com. So that's north, opposite the south, court, where judges and wigs hang out. So Northcourt Music, all one word, .com.
Thank you for the clarification.
Easy peasy.
Now, a couple more questions. Why do you love Rush so much?
No, that's a really good question. Do you remember a few moments ago, and I said that Alex brought this record round, and I heard, 2112. I followed that through for the next couple of years, and I enjoyed it, and hemispheres and stuff. And then I'm about to. You're not going to get garlic and stuff out on me and say that I didn't like the 80s period. I kind of got to Power Windows, right? And I went, I don't know if I like this, and I kind of lost. Not lost interest, because I knew they were good enough to do something to bring me back, but I kind of sort of felt they lost their way almost. Mm-hmm. And then I found out a few years later about Neil's terrible family tragedies, and that brought me back, and kind of it brought them back as well. And the music started to change, the synth started to leave, because for me, the 80s is the decade that music forgot. The New Romantics, get away, come on. Good God almighty. There was about 2 or 3 great bands out of that, and the rest of them were absolute flipping rubbish. And so I felt that so many bands, so many great bands, they all followed the same production values. They all chased that kind of, that sound, and it was a sound I hated. And so that's the kind of reason. It wasn't really the band's fault.
But why do you love Rush so much?
Why do I love them? How about just great musicianship, exciting songs, and never quite knowing where the next part of the turn is going to be within a song.
Yeah.
Right? Melodically, sometimes genius. Lyrically, almost unimpeachable. Come on. One of my favorite songs of the modern era. I don't know if many people say. I before this, I quickly Googled what other people thought, and there's a page on Rolling Stone's site, Rolling Stone magazine, and one of my favorite songs isn't on there. Nobody's Hero.
Huh.
Why wouldn't you flipping love that song? It's about something, it's a great song. It's melodic. It's about something deep and meaningful, and oh my God, perfect example. Neil Peart, a guy who should be, well, not worshipped, because no human should be worshipped, but he's
praised.
He's
Immortalized.
Praised and very respected.
Right.
Technically, but on so many levels. And to have overcome that's why I guess it was all about Peart by the time I came back in the early 90s. So that's the kind of answer. Neil Peart, in a way. How crazy does that sound? Sorry, Geddy, and sorry, Alex.
This is good. So everybody on the show, we asked to pick their top 5 Rush albums. We're going to ask you that. What are your top 5 Rush albums? All
right. Well, we'll start with the one that introduced me, 2112. I should have prepared myself for this one. Now, this is more difficult, actually. Top 5 albums. Right. Okay. Do I have to give you an order? or just kind of can I give you five?
Preferably, but you don't have to.
Okay, I'll tell you the five that are leaping into my mind, but it's all about roughly the same period. I think my this is an odd one. Exit Stage Left.
I love that record.
That is just it's kind of, I mean, it just collects. I think somebody wrote somewhere that they kind of used to do that, which was like kind of go, right, okay, we're going to do 4 years because there was All the World's a Stage, and then Exit Stage Left was I think the second live, and
right.
But that one there was just brilliant.
Well, they would do
there's
4
no bad song on it.
Well, they would do 4 studio albums, then a live album, 4 studio albums, then a live album. To me, there's stuff on Exit Stage Left that to me are like the definitive versions of some of those songs.
Yeah. YYZ, Red Barchetta. I mean, flipping heck. Whoa.
Xanadu.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it is great. There's nothing on that record that you can skip. Maybe
I've convinced myself. Exit Stage Left first, 2112 second. Now I got to think about the rest. Moving Pictures,
of course.
Signals and Counterparts. And funnily enough, by the way, the last one.
Yeah. The last one is greatness.
The last one is like kind of back to where it all started, almost in a way. Well, back 20 years anyway. It's say 20 years. What year is it? No, back maybe 30.
Yeah.
I'm glad Counterparts was in your top 5. That's a great album.
It's a brilliant bloody album. It's a brilliant album. It's kind of the one that turned me back on, after I kind of went, oh God, too much flipping synths and like, chasing the flipping Stock Aitken Waterman bloody sound.
Wow.
It's like, fuck's sake, Geddy, stop it.
Well, Mark, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show, man. We really appreciate your efforts, and it is true, and this is the essence of why we've done this podcast and why we bring people on as super fans or just fans who go on to do amazing things and go on to be inspired by the band to help influence a community or a immediate community or even a greater global effort. And you're a good example of that. So we really want to thank you for coming on Two Guys Talking Rush.
It's been my absolute pleasure. I hope I've made sense.
You did.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're doing a good job, and keep us updated on your efforts with Prog for Peart, and we'll get this episode out before. What dates are it again?
It's the 2nd of July and the 3rd of July, and the same page. If you go to the site I said, which is northcourtmusic.com, there's a link right on the front page. So when you go to when you land on the homepage, you can click it through, and you can buy yourself a streaming ticket if you happen to be on the other side of the Atlantic. Because let's face it, what with COVID and all the rest of it, not a lot of us doing a lot of traveling at the right now.
One quick question: is this going to be yearly? Are you going to do this every year? Because
I've been asked that.
It would be great if you could do it live for real in person.
Who do you think was the first person to ask me that question? You don't have to say as in like the name of a person, but in a group of people, who would you think would be the first people that had asked me that?
Just about anybody. Anybody would want to see that.
I'll tell you who it was. When I spoke to the bands, it was the bands. They wanted to know because some of them couldn't do it this year because of various reasons. None of them have been able to rehearse for a kickoff. Couldn't be in the same room.
Personally, I could see this happening every year for this, for the same charity, for the same reason.
If this goes off, that's my plan. I've been convinced by people that I've been speaking to that it's a great idea, and I was just trying to do a little something.
Yeah.
Never intended to be a big, but it's kind of it's just grown.
Right.
Genuinely, I it started off because there's a really good Rush tribute here in the UK that are called Bravado, who I had already booked for July last year. COVID hit. Well, obviously Neil died, I spoke to them and I said, look, guys, how about if we turn this into a charity? I know it means your fee goes down and all the rest of it, but would you be interested? Maybe I can get another couple of bands. And they said straight away, yes. Straight away, they said yes.
Cool.
And that's what happened. And then COVID meant it got delayed and other people found out about it. And before I knew it, it turned from 3 bands into 16 bands and 2 days. And look, if I can do it, if it goes well and everybody's happy, I will try and do it, going forwards. I don't know if our venue would be able to kind of cope with it, because we're only a 200 capacity venue. We're not a big place. We're actually, it's kind of grown its own. It's like snowballing down a hill. It's kind of done its own thing.
Okay, well, whatever happens, keep us posted. Let us know how it's going to go, and we wish you the best of luck with it. And we'll definitely let you know when this episode is going to run, and we will run it before the event.
Fantastic. And
Okay.
I hope I've made sense. And
you did.
Okay. Hey,
Mark,
guys, thank you so much, man.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for coming on.
Well, Dan, Mike Dixon, starting off with Mike Dixon. What a character.
He moved actual pictures.
Listen, Dan, he moved me.
He moved us all. We have all been moved.
I like how he sort of described the each character in the frame, and the story behind being there and the set and all those details, because that's behind the scenes stuff. You don't really get to hear that too much.
No, you never. I mean, honestly, I think most people don't even give any thought to how was this album cover made? How did they shoot this?
Yeah.
And when he was talking about it, it was honestly the first time I've really considered were they all standing in the same place at the same time? Was that an element that was brought in later?
Yeah.
Because you don't think about that stuff.
I actually learned some new stuff, and that was great. And Mike's the mighty Mike Dixon.
The mighty, yes.
He's also a drummer, of course, and what a pleasure having him on the show, and just sort of discovering a character within a story that's actually a living piece of art. He's living art. That's what he is.
It's a little piece of history, and again, it's a little bit off the beaten path, and not necessarily everybody would think this is someone to talk to. But I mean, it shows that we go a little deeper and are willing to do sort of off the beaten path stuff for the show.
Absolutely. And Mark Cunningham, just a super sweet guy.
Good dude. Yeah.
A total Rush fan, and very passionate, and wants to help out in his way. And listen, he could just go do his own thing and not have any. I mean, he's putting effort into something that's really, really significant. That's meaningful. And I can't say enough about our UK fans. They're all really, really nice, and it's a pleasure to bring them this show, and it's a pleasure to bring our U.S. fans in the show all over the world. I mean, we get emails from Germany and all sorts of places. We're very much an international show. I mean, I like that. We're global, man.
Yeah, I never really thought much about who was going to tune in beyond just Rush fans, but the fact that we've been somewhat embraced by people overseas. I mean, that's it. I mean, you can't really ask for anything better than that. And that's certainly not any disrespect to our U.S. fans.
Well, remember Benny from Germany? We talked about. Benny said that nobody's listening to Rush there. It has a small Rush fan base.
Yeah,
and I was surprised by that. I always thought Rush were just huge everywhere, but it must be lonely for Benny.
Yeah,
Benny.
No, I mean, I wouldn't want to live somewhere with no Rush fans or very few Rush fans. That would be difficult.
Yeah.
But thanks to Wi-Fi and the internet and all that, we're all closer now.
Living with my wife is enough. I have you, Dan, as my Rush fan friend.
Well, I'm like your hetero work wife in a way.
You're my limelight.
Yeah, baby.
Well, there it is, folks. Another incredible episode of Two Guys Talking Rush. And listen, we go off on tangents. We know.
Yes, we do.
We blow a lot of hot air. But so what? Tune in, tune out. Come back to us. Leave us. Come back. Don't be confused. When you leave, you'll miss us. We know you will. We know you will.
Yeah. This is who we are, man.
I know. Yeah. But, as much as it's self-serving to sit here and have these exchanges, Dan and I have these exchanges, at the root of it all, this show, we do this show for other people. I mean, we are selfless, man. We do this. When Dan and I discuss show topics and put this stuff together, we really ask the question, what will the fans think? Will the fans like it?
Yeah.
We want you to like what we're doing, and we hope that you do, and we're trying our best. Like I said, I say this every time now, I have to pull the quote, and I will, I promise, is that Neil Peart said, the best I can do is try. That's all I can do is try. Just keep trying. That's all we do here on Two Guys Talking Rush. We just keep trying. There it is, folks. Episode 45, Two Guys Talking Rush. My name is John Kane.
I am the delightful Dan Buckspan.
And what can I say? Rush
rules.
Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys.